According to the feds, a gang is a criminal enterprise having an organisational structure which employs violence to sustain the enterprise. This definition was written at a time when gang crime had become uncontrollable. The FBI's gang unit was created because of a certain set of youths who were wreaking havoc in South Central LA. Two rival gangs had literally sent the city into no-go areas. One set being the Crips and their bitter rivals, the Bloods.
In tonight's show, Bloods behind bars at the toughest prison in America.
From the ages 18 to 39 belongs to the state. What happened to the party years? I missed them.
But first, the Bloods in action.
You can see 4 or 5-year kids flashing gang signs on the street when you drive by in certain neighborhoods.
They have been isolated, physically, geographically isolated from the rest of Los Angeles, sort of left alone.
There's no accident the crimes jump the highest between 2 and 4 in the afternoon. That's when kids are out of school.
Los Angeles. It's the home to Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and the notorious Bloods, arch rivals to the Crips.
The Crips started first in the early 1970s, and the Bloods grew up in opposition to, as an alternative to the Crips.
There were some Crips down in the Compton area who had some disagreements with the original Crip structure, and they were called themselves, they were on Piru Street in Compton, and they called themselves the Pirus, which became the Bloods, and they were really a gang sort of formed to protect themselves against this growing Crip culture.
If you want to become a Blood, you got to, okay, well, go shoot at them Crips over there. That's the jumping in part. Go shoot at them Crips.
The explosion of the drugs trade and crack cocaine in the 1980s only intensified gangland rivalry between the Bloods and the Crips.
It made everybody against each other. When you put the cocaine in the neighborhoods, everybody want to be the big dope dealers. So everybody's killing each other for it.
If I shoot you, there's much more of what the psychologists call a demand character. It is a demand that you retaliate. It's just too much of an insult. The code says it has to be subject to retaliation.
If you come shoot at my neighborhood, what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go back and throw rocks at your neighborhood? So we gotta have guns too. Like Vietnam, constantly shooting all day, all night.
The violence and terror caused by Blood and Crip rivalry soon became a national issue, causing concern at the highest level.
The message today to the Bloods, the Crips, to every criminal gang preying on the innocent is clear. We mean to put you out of business, to break the backs of your organization, to stop you from terrorizing our neighborhoods and our children, to put you away for a very long time. We have just begun the job, and we do not intend to stop until we have finished.
Gangland rivalry between the Bloods and the Crips does not isolate itself to South Central, as rap music's huge popularity has introduced LA's gangland struggles to the whole country.
It's sort of the chicken or the egg thing, you know, with the rap music. I mean, you know, the original gangster rap started with, you know, NWA, which stood for Niggers with Attitude, who were from Compton, and you know, depending on who you talk to, they were real gangsters or they were wannabe gangsters. But nevertheless, they sang about that culture.
Lots of the rappers used to be gangbangers. From the Ice Cube to Dub C to DJ Quick used to be Bloods. I mean, you got a few of them that used to be gangbangers. Now they, you know, all they doing is rapping about what they saw in their neighborhoods, because they used to do it.
In absence of strong parental guidance, in absence of other things, an alternative lifestyle, I think gangster rap music alone, and that's all the kids getting fed, can be, you can receive those subliminal things that cause you to act a certain way.
Are there some rap songs that are specifically gang-oriented? Absolutely.
The huge international success of gangster rap music only increased when the blood of South Central spilled over into the world of show business. Gangster rapper Tupac Shakur and his record label Death Row had strong links with the Bloods. After he was shot and killed in Las Vegas, Biggie Smalls, a rival rapper associated with the Crips, was reportedly shot and killed in LA as an act of revenge.
Well, I think when you look at the killing of Tupac Shakur 6 months ago, according to what police in Compton say, he was killed in the midst of a gang war of sorts between a death row-affiliated blood set and a Crip set called the Southside Crips. With Biggie Smalls' death, according to some reports now, you have that he was killed by a blood set. So I think you can see here that these gang ties have a very real impact on these artists and these labels.
Some experts claim that the glorification of gangster life by the music and film industry has only heightened the America's gang problem.
A lot of the movies made today show gangsterism without showing the real consequences of it. You know, they make it look too glamorous. And I'm telling you, the bottom line for all of them is they all end up dead or in jail. And most of them will tell you that.
Still to come, Gangster Chic, the Bloods in uniform. Life behind bars for the LA gangsters. But first, gang warfare.
I mean, this is the biggest mistake I ever made in my life. I could have been free right now.
For some of them, it's a way of entering into a new crime world, the prison gang crime world.
Inside prison life, okay, the rules are totally different in the outside world.
California State Prison, desolate and isolated, 200 miles from the nearest city and home to hundreds of Bloods.
If you're a gang member and you go to a correctional institution, a prison, a penitentiary, what have you, you have several choices available to you. One is to deny gang membership. One of the difficulties there is there are other people there who know you, so it's hard to avoid.
If I say I'm from nowhere, I can go and disappear, and just fit into the flow of prison life. Now it's to the point to where no matter which prison I go to, there's already someone there that I know from doing time with in the past.
In addition to that, in California now, the corrections officers make sure that they know what your gang affiliation is coming in.
And inmates are constantly involved into different things such as drugs, extortion, fights, and our only way of identifying who these inmates are is to break them down by their gangs and by their nicknames and their identifying tattoos.
Ghost is an LA gangster who is now serving a 21-year sentence for armed robbery. He was 18 when he first entered the penitentiary and remembers the harsh regime he was put through on arrival.
You're stuck in your cell 24 hours a day unless it's your shower time, and that's every 3 days. So you figure every 3 days you get out of the cell for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then when you do get out of the cell, you're handcuffed. You never leave the cell and not in handcuffs. And when you leave the cell in handcuffs, you have to be in your boxers and your shower shoes, and that's it. There's only one person to a shower, and after your 15 minutes, you're going back in your cell, and that's it.
Once inside the penitentiary, the structure of gangs like the Bloods becomes much more organized than anything on the street. They have their own form of criminal government, known as the Bloodline.
Okay, Bloodline has a structure. Okay, they have generals, captains, lieutenants, sergeants, Minister of Defense, Sergeant of Arms, and whatnot. As long as you have that structure right there, if there's another group of inmates of Bloods on the yard and they're doing anything, they're going to have approval from these guys who is the Bloodline, because they are going to run that yard.
That's always a tricky thing, because then you just gotta basically either contact more than one person or just, someone who has a lot of pull, someone who's well respected.
Once you get involved in an organized gang, more than likely you take an oath, which is a lifetime commitment. And they have, somewhere in that oath, they have a statement stating that if I should ever break away, let this oath kill me.
Just like on the streets, gangs like the Bloods conduct a strong drugs trade within the walls of the penitentiary.
You just contact one of your homeboys and tell them, hey, I need some weed, something like that. And 9 times out of 10, they know where to go get it.
The more drugs you can have brought in, the more money you can make. There have been some cases where some individuals have made at least $30,000 a month. So when you look at that type of money inside of a prison setting, that's a lot of money, and you're awful powerful.
Although gangs like the Bloods are highly structured, because of confinement, the correction officers are still confident that they can monitor and punish most criminal activity.
We monitor all criminal activity inside the prison. You name it, we monitor it. You have drug trafficking, you have extortion, you have rape, just like crime on the streets.
It seems like once a week now I'm seeing big drug busts of heroin or weed or something like that.
The difference is, it's confined. You know, it's just a small world. So you really can't go to another state and get away. You know, you're gonna do it for so long and then you're gonna get caught because it's confined. Somebody is going to slip.
Even with a strong gang structure inside the penitentiary, for most inmates the pain and the regret is still there, for mistakes made and time lost.
From the ages 18 to 39 belongs to the state. You know, that's a lot of good years there. Especially, you know, the young years. By the time I get out, I'll be middle-aged. You know, what happened to the party years? I missed them. All because of the gang.
More tales from the gangland after the break, including dress codes, branding, and gang warfare. Remember, dead men don't tell lies. Since they were formed in 1969, the street gangs of Compton, LA have blown the American crime figures out of the water. They're a crew of trigger-happy drug runners with bad attitude. But despite this, or because of this, their image and culture has been copied all over the world. The Bloods are Afro-Americans whose dress code and style have become a global brand.
Traditionally, the Bloods have always worn the colour red, and their pants have been less baggy than those of their arch rivals, the Crips. Today, the rules are less rigid, but you can't wear any old thing.
This gangsterism thing has become almost like hippies were in the 1960s and 70s. You know, kids, through the music and the clothing, have adopted this gang culture, much like kids in the 60s and 70s did the hippie culture. You know, the baggy clothes, the shaved heads, the tattoos, all that comes from prisons. That's part of the prison culture. And guys got out of prisons and come back to the neighborhoods dressed like that and tatted out like that. And the kids picked up on it. They thought it was cool. And then it got into the songs and the movies and MTV. And now it's part of a whole culture. And you'll see a lot of kids dressed like gangsters who aren't even gangsters, but they look like them because, again, it's much like everybody dressed like a hippie in the 70s. For some reason, this gangster thing has hit a glamorous chord.
The clothing styles worn in prison have become part of the uniform of that gang when they are outside of prison. But then what becomes stranger is that these same styles then translate into mainstream cultural style and fashion as worn by people who have never been to prison and would hope to have never been to prison.
Tattoos are the badge by which gang members display their allegiance to their gang.
You feel very committed to this gang of yours. Let's say it's the Hoover Crips. You want to show it. They are with me, one for all and all for one. I'm going to show it as best I can. I get a big Hoover Crip tattoo on my arm. But in order to make it real, I want it to be deep. I want it to be permanent. I want it to be done professionally. Once that's there, it doesn't come off.
But these kids are being immortalized by rappers for the tough lives that they lead. And with MTV glamorizing the gangster way, the ghetto is providing fashion icons for wannabes all around the world.
There are kids today who dress like gangsters, look like gangsters, that aren't necessarily gangsters and would be what the police would call a wannabe gangster. He might even live in a gang neighborhood and is not really a hardcore gang member, but he adopts the look, you know. But what he may not have are the tattoos. And a real hardcore gangster, man, he'll have tattoos written on his face, in big block letters all across his neck or his chest or his stomach, you know, large letters, you know, 6, 7 inches high. I mean, he will mark himself a gang member. You don't have to guess who he is because it's written all over his body.
Gangster chic has hit a chord across the globe. From Compton to Croydon, South Central to Sydney, fashion has moved out of the hood and into the high street. Baggy trousers, big shirts, earrings, tattoos and shaved heads are all part of modern-day fashion culture thanks to the LA gangster phenomena.
If you're in a gang, if you believe in gangs and the culture of those gangs, then the body decoration, even the most extreme forms of body decoration, are extremely valuable for maintaining the coherence of your gang. In a way, the tattoo or any other permanent body modification is a way whereby the gang holds on to its members for life.
Today, the look has been adopted all over the world. But in the ghetto, what you wear can be a matter of life and death. Los Angeles, California. One of the toughest cities in the world to police due to its gang problem and the presence of the Bloods. In terms of law enforcement, Los Angeles falls under the jurisdiction of 2 separate departments, LA County Sheriff and the LAPD, both keen to make their mark in stamping out the Bloods.
It's like 2 rival colleges. Our college and UCLA are rivals. Right? So everything is done in terms of who's got the better football team, who's got the better basketball team. LAPD and sheriffs have always done the same thing. They are in competition with each other. They're the 2 big organizations in law enforcement here, and it's natural for them to develop that kind of competition.
Both the county sheriff and the LAPD have different tactics in dealing with the Bloods and the other city gangs. The LAPD take their tactics directly from the street.
I don't want to pick on LAPD because I think, you know, at one point it was the premier police department in the world, and they've been through some things, partly through their own fault and partly just because of happenstance. I think that, you know, that organization has been decimated in the last decade.
The images of LA police beating Rodney King became infamous throughout the world. The reputation of the department reached an all-time low, highlighting the need for alternative law enforcement tactics.
You have to approach gang members in the street. You have to try to get to know who they are. You have to try and get inside their heads, or you're never going to control the gang problem.
And this is exactly what the LA Sheriff's Department have done, relying more on gang knowledge, which in turn leads to more convictions of Blood members.
I think it's fairly clear that the Sheriff's Department has been more effective in the sense that they have put more emphasis on intelligence gathering, whereas LAPD has put more emphasis on enforcement.
LAPD is like, they little pussies when it come down to sheriff. Sheriffs, they be looking for guns for murders. LAPD, man, they just out here, you know, just in the way. But the sheriffs don't be playing, man. They jack you up cold. They tell you take your shoes, your socks off, drop your drawers and shit like that, man. Go up and crack your ass. Man, I ain't with none of that, man.
Sergeant Alan Harris and his team work in the LA Sheriff's Department in downtown Compton, stronghold for many of the city's deadliest street gangs like the Bloods.
There was a homicide, double homicide between CV70s and Compton Barrio Tokers. On the 1st of September, one of the patrol guys does a T-stop. In the car, he sees a camcorder. He also finds a bunch of gang photographs. On the tape is the 4 occupants of the car throwing up their gang signs. They got a gun, they're showing their gun, telling how they're gonna blast any other gang in Compton that comes up against them.
Because of the intelligence that the sheriffs have gathered, they have found a strong link between the murder and the video footage of gang members. They know their names, they know their addresses, and are now on their way to serve a warrant to search for the suspected murder weapon.
We get a response and have somebody come to the door. That's always the best way. If we don't,
shield over there, too.
then we'll peel the door off and go in if we hear bodies inside.
Sheriff's Department, we have a search warrant on the door.
Detective Orr right there is a handling investigator on the case, and he'll be able to explain everything to you, okay? And it's regarding your son, Edgar. It's department policy to do it that way. That way there's as little damage as possible, as little cost to the department, and there's as little threat to the occupants inside of the house.
The night's operation has been a success. A handgun was found on the premises which matched the description of the murder weapon, enabling a case to be brought against the suspected gang members without any confrontation or bloodshed. For Sergeant Harris and his fellow sheriffs, it's a job well done, as they can now relax and unwind knowing that they have made a small but necessary step towards curbing LA's gang disease.
Detective Bergen's buying today, so...
Yep, I was late, I overslept, and now I gotta buy everybody at the table breakfast.
The Indians used to have a saying, you know, you don't know a man until you walked a mile in his shoes. And I think every deputy and every police officer needs to try to walk a mile in a gangster's shoes to really figure out who he is and why he does what he does.
With gang membership for the Bloods on the increase, gang warfare on the streets of LA can only get worse. Sadly for the law-abiding American, the Bloods are one of the world's deadliest gangs.
Well, that's all we've got time for on the world's deadliest gangs. If you're worried about organised crime and gang warfare, remember, I can't help you, pal. I've got to get out of here. Later. Bank robbery, money, and the most feared of all. Or Gangster. Fucking come on in, eh? Kidnapping, power, firm, the yardies. If you have any trouble with organised crime, yeah, call 1-800 Big Tony. Very naughty. The world's most dangerous cities. The Hell's Angels. The drugs cartel. The Bloods, the Crips, hijacking and murder. It's the world's deadliest gangs.